Hi, welcome. I'm Hannah. This is Theology Therapist. And this week I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something different because we are in the throes of holiday season and the busyness and the craziness and just the sort of consumerism, like the Hallmarky-ness of this time of year. And so I just wanted to kind of press pause a little bit on the conversations that we've been having. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I like to think of as the practice of walking, also kind of related to the conversation that we were having around meditation. So if you remember, there are 4 different postures for meditation, and one of those postures is walking. And I wanted to talk to you about this practice of walking and the 4 things that I have learned or that stick out to me the most when I think about walking as a practice. Okay, so you might be wondering, like, why now? Why in the dead of winter are we talking about walking? And I think because even though wherever you are, it might be freezing outside, there are a few things that the practice of walking can bring to our lives. And if we are able to incorporate them more and more, I think especially during this time of year, well, one, it's always important to get outside and to get movement and fresh air, but also there are important things that I think really counterbalance the season that we're in. So all that said, when I graduated from grad school, I immediately left, like 4 days later, immediately left to walk the Camino de Santiago in Spain. If you've never heard of it, you should definitely go look it up. It is an ancient pilgrimage. It is 500 miles or about 800 kilometers long to do the traditional Camino. It starts from the border of France and walks to the coast of Spain. And so whenever I left grad school, I flew to Paris and I went to do this trip solo. And it was my first time traveling solo, and it was an incredible experience. I definitely, side note, definitely recommend the Camino, especially if you're traveling solo, because it just provides so many rich experiences. The 4 things that stick out to me about the practice of walking that I learned on the Camino de Santiago, the first one is simplicity. So if you've ever backpacked or done like an extended camping trip, you probably know what I'm talking about here. But to go on this trip, I brought mostly only the things that I needed and a few of the things that I wanted, which was, a yoga mat, a few books, a journal, and very minimal clothing, right? Like 2 t-shirts, 2 pairs of shorts, one of them that broke along the way. And so very minimal clothing, and it was only what I could carry in my backpack. And this trip lasted, for me, it depends on really you, like each person's Camino could last different timelines, different lengths of time. Mine lasted a month. So this was how I lived for a month. And simplicity was one of the first things that I learned. I think at this time of the year, we get really caught up in the like Hallmark nature, or the go, 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 and the parties and the lights and the presents and like all of these things, which are fun and can be really lovely, but they can also be a lot of other things, right? And they can also be stressful and full of awkward social situations, and it's not just the holiday cheer, it can be really a lot of other things. And I think the thing about the Camino was that the rhythm of each day was the same, but each day in and of itself was different. So like I have a really hard time with routine, as in like doing the same thing every single day. even though I really love and need structure, like the routine itself, I need a rhythm to the days, but the structure, the routine of the day for me needs to change. And on the Camino, the rhythm of the days were the same, but then each day itself was so different. So you wake up, you have first breakfast, you start walking, second breakfast, walking, lunch, walking. Finally you arrive, right? And then laundry, rest, dinner, sleep, rinse, and repeat. It was like that for me for a month. And sometimes even now I notice in myself the desire to man, I really miss walking. I really miss when walking was the thing that I did, because it was so simple, right? And it was so separate from all of the stress and the stressors and the worries of life. What was I gonna do after grad school? What was gonna happen? What was my career gonna be? It was so separate from that. It was so simple. I get up, I eat, I walk 8 hours, I sleep. The other aspect of simplicity that was evident on the Camino was interpersonal interactions. There is this understanding that that you salute people as you pass them, and that each person's Camino is different. There is this understanding of that, and so you might walk with somebody for a while and then go your separate ways. What tends to happen is that you tend to pass the same people. Each other tend to pass the same people daily, regularly, if you're walking at the same pace. And so the second aspect of walking that is so beneficial is connection. So walking 8 hours a day and talking, or walking alongside each other for this time comfortably without talking, or knowing and accepting when it's time for you to leave a group that you've been walking with and walk on your own for a while. The daily habit of walking with others and allowing each person to have exactly this experience that they were having. So whether that be walking with in a group or walking solo, lended itself to this really, I think, beautiful connection, this really deep connection that formed without sort of pretenses, without expectations. If you ended up walking with a group for an extended period of time, you knew that happened oftentimes out of a true desire to be together, because like I mentioned, it's common and actually even encouraged for you to kind of walk on your own or to change groups or things like that. And so these deep friendships that can form through an experience or a prolonged experience of walking are built not through common interest, but through difficult shared experience. And it's not always often in life that we have shared difficult experience with others without the sort of trappings or other responsibilities of life that take us away from each other. And then the other type of connection that the practice of walking really cultivates is this deep connection with yourself. So on the Camino, you often heard people say that the first third is physical, the second third is mental, and the last third is spiritual. When you spend that much time with yourself, with maybe some other people who are also there to have this same type of experience, the same sort of difficult physical, but also leading to a type of spiritual, if you will, experience, that it really can, walking 8 hours a day really can bring you to a deeper understanding of yourself, of the ways that you want to maybe give up, of the times when you might be pushing yourself too hard, of that, maybe that critical voice in your head, or when it's you and the road for 8 hours, give or take, right? It's a lot. So it can cultivate that deeper connection with yourself. The third aspect of walking that is a benefit that sticks out to me is this distraction, this aspect of distraction. In the beginning, I was talking about simplicity, right? Like that really you get up, you walk 8 hours, you rest, you go to sleep, rinse and repeat. And there is that simplicity that lends itself to, in this context, to less distractions. Today in our society, our attention is the hottest commodity, right? It's even like sort of a contradiction that you're here watching this, listening to me on probably your phone, which isn't in and of itself like stimulation. It's like distraction, stimulating, right? I'm not telling you anything new here. You know that our attention, that there are these billion-dollar companies, probably, Twitter, Facebook, sort of Instagram, even though I know some of these are all together, TikTok, Amazon, like they are vying for our attention because our attention is the hottest commodity. And our nervous system isn't actually built for that kind of overstimulation. And we end up in this pattern of distraction that we think is like ADD or stress that turns chronic because we never have a break from it. And on this kind of prolonged walk, like the Camino de Santiago or the Appalachian Trail or the PCT, right? There are tons, hundreds, thousands of different kinds of these prolonged walks, but on this type of practice, on this type of walk, there aren't distractions. There's no TV, there's no phone because there's probably no signal, no data. It's just you and the occasional music playlist, and then what you have around you. Even though that might seem intimidating, we especially need unplugging from overstimulation, especially during the holiday season, because this is when they are grabbing for our attention more than usual, more than other times, because it's when our consumerism season is in full swing. And so what I've learned from a prolonged period of disconnection from overstimulation is that I have stronger relationships, memories, and I'm actually happier. Walking the Camino de Santiago was the most at peace I have ever been. And so I hope to put a little plug in this holiday season for maybe finding a way to bundle up and to go outside without your phone or with your phone on airplane or whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but in some way trying to spend some time outside, walking without that distraction, maybe with others, maybe on your own, or even just kind of taking some of these principles and seeing if there are ways to apply it to your life this holiday season. I'm curious, have you ever done any sort of prolonged walking? Like the Camino, like the AT, like the PCT, or anything? Have you ever done one? What was your experience like? Did you like it? Were there many other people around? What was your experience like? And what did you learn on that experience? So, before you get outside today, make sure you press the red subscribe button so you get a notification when next week's video comes out. Be well.